This is Justin from GeneralsJoes.com, and we're looking at a video review today for the figure subscription service by the G.I. Joe Collectors Club, Nunchuk, who's part of their first shipment of figure subscription service 4.0 figures. He was shipped along with Law Order on a single card, nice vintage style card. I already cracked them open, so I can't give you a card shot, unfortunately, but here's Nunchuk out of the package and fully equipped, and he's a very cool, yeah, he's so cool I can't talk. I'm sorry. He's a really good, really nice modern update to the classic figure. Not quite as accurate as some folks might have hoped, but he's a very good update. Got some great modern parts. The paint scheme is pretty much spot on. It's got some great accessories. There's lots of fun stuff to do here. Plus, he's a member of Ninja Force, and more Ninja Force is always great. Shebang, I was very happy to get back in 2014, and Nunchuk makes another great addition. We, of course, have the Dollar General Storm Shadow to lead the Ninja Force as well. So we're starting to amass a nice little group of Ninja Force members, and Nunchuk was always one of my favorites when I was a kid. I think it was mostly because he was one of the few early release Ninja Force figures that wasn't drastically impacted by his play feature. His articulation was reduced, but it wasn't reduced to a horrible extent. I love seeing these modern updates to Ninja Force just because that means they're actually more posable than their vintage counterparts generally. You can see Nunchuk. He uses mostly 30th anniversary Storm Shadow parts. He's got different lower legs. I'm not sure precisely what lower legs those are, but they're more combat bootish than Storm Shadows are. And he's actually, never mind, he's actually got different legs entirely. I think they might be 30th anniversary airtight legs. And I know I'm going to get myself in big trouble when I try to identify parts, because anybody who reads my website knows that for some reason, I am horrible at parts identification, and I just assume things belong to certain things, and they don't. So this might be an ongoing joke with these video reviews that I just consistently get parts combinations wrong, so you have to forgive me ahead of time. If you want to get the real answer, go to yojo.com. The guys Phil Donnelly and Terry and Pat, those guys are much more devoted to accuracy than I am. I tend to fly off the seat of my pants, so apologize for that. But that's essentially what you get. I think it's 30th anniversary Storm Shadow from the waist up, 30th anniversary airtight from the waist down, if you know what I'm talking about. But he comes with a bunch of different ninja-oriented accessories, most of which came with that Storm Shadow. He's got a great set of nunchucks, obviously, since he is Nunchuk. He's got a pair of these sai, which is cool. I love those. And I love that he's got the hands from the 30th anniversary Renegade Storm Shadow, which means he can actually hold the sai kind of between his fingers, like so, which is a really nice touch, something that's very cool. That Storm Shadow, when it first came out, was so absolutely revolutionary to how action figures of that scale were produced. He could hold his throwing stars, he could hold his sai like that, he could hold one of these like little teeny tiny darts in a pouch that Nunchuk also comes with, that connected to a little peg on the back of his Storm Shadow sash. Speaking of his back, he's got a nice little backpack with dual sword sheaths there, with two swords inside. Long one and a short one. Just like that. Which is pretty cool. The backpack, of course, comes off. And you get a good look at the back there, too. There's a sash. There's a little tiny peg that dart hooks into. Turn him around, and his little hood helmet thing actually comes off, revealing a plain old ninja mask underneath. It's okay, the mask originally, I think, came with 25th anniversary training Storm Shadow, maybe, and was also, I think, released with 25th, well, not 25th anniversary, with a Pursuit of Cobra Temple Guardian Snake Eyes. Sorry. I believe that's who this hood was released with, and it does an okay job of approximating Nunchuk's kind of flowing headdress, I guess. It's not perfect, but it does all right. I'm going to get rid of his stand just so you can get a better idea. And, it does a good job of, being a modern update to everybody's favorite, vintage Nunchuk, with the same kind of camouflage and the same shades of green and wait a minute. That's not vintage Nunchuk. It should be. This is Spy Troops, or Joe versus Cobra Nunchuk. That's the Nunchuk everybody loves. Look at him, shirtless, green paint everywhere, bare feet. He's awesome. All right, never mind. That's not the Nunchuk this is based on. This is based on the Ninja Force Nunchuk, which anybody who looked at my FSS 4.0 Law review will tell you that I mentioned my vintage figures are disintegrated before my eyes, and Nunchuk is no exception. His is a simple O-ring break, but unfortunately when it comes to Ninja Force, O-ring breaks can be fatal because he doesn't have a screw hole in his back. But he's kind of holding together there. As you can see, the greens don't quite match up. The Collectors Club likes to mute their colors just a little bit when necessary. So the green on the modern version of Nunchuk is a little bit more muted than the Ninja Force version, which is okay. I'm okay with that. You can see the mask kind of approximates what Nunchuk looks like, but not real well. I kind of like the vintage look a little bit more. I would have liked it if they could have maybe tooled up a new head, done something a little bit more creative with that. Other thing that bothers me is the sash. There's plenty of two-strap web gear selections out there that I think they could have gone with to be a little bit more accurate and a little bit more interesting. Instead, we just got the kind of typical Storm Shadow sash and belt. Nunchuk, the vintage version, doesn't even wear that kind of martial arts style belt. So I would have liked to see something a little bit different there. But really, that's a pretty minor complaint. And heaven knows, there's, like I said, there's plenty of those two-strap web gear sets out there. It's easy enough to replace it on my own. But the thing I really love about these Ninja Force updates is that they're no longer saddled with those terrible action features that would reduce articulation to a terrible point. His O-ring being broken is probably an advantage because you can take him apart here and see that his little special power was that he had the spring-loaded arm that let him karate chop. But he also had these little tabs underneath too, and so as a result would not turn at the waist very well. So ninja figures that are supposed to be kind of the most flexible characters out there ended up being figures that couldn't move the way you wanted them to move. And thankfully these modern renditions don't suffer that same fate. And Nunchuk, in fact, is very well articulated. He's got his double knees. Because he's one of those 30th anniversary era figures, he is extremely well sculpted. It's an almost perfect balance of sculpt and articulation. He's really baggy, really nicely detailed, but he still has terrific range of motion. Even arms that have these thick sleeves attached still move pretty well. He's got those spread fingers that I mentioned, which he can use to hold his sai. He doesn't have the rocker ankles. He just has the swivel ankles, which a lot of people are probably happy with. There's a fair share of folks out there who really don't like the rocker ankles. They're okay. If they're done well, they're really great. If they're not done well, they're pretty terrible. So, you either kind of you love them or you hate them type of situation. I don't know where I fall. I love them on Renegade Scarlet. I think they work great there. But to each his own. You can hold his nunchucks like that. He's got the articulated wrists, like so many other figures of this era did, where one wrist goes, well, in this case, that wrist kind of goes out, back and forth like this. And this wrist goes up and down. It's kind of the opposite of the way Law's was, where his right wrist went up and down and his left one went back and forth. Nunchuk is the other way around. But anyway, this is, I'm a big fan of Ninja Force. I remember back in the day, being excited. What really had me excited about Ninja Force back in the 90s was Scarlet finally had her ponytail. And I remember seeing some artwork somewhere showing Scarlet with a real ponytail for the first time. I was like, oh my God, that's awesome, fantastic. She finally looks kind of like the cartoon. And then when that figure was finally released with her, T-crotch and birth and hips and all that stuff, it was like, are you kidding me? This is what we've got? So that was a disappointment, obviously, and here we are 20 years later, and we've got, Scarlet with ponytails coming out our butts. But back in the day, that was a pretty big deal, and it was kind of disappointing, the result and what we got. And Ninja Force itself kind of suffered that same fate, but these newer versions obviously aren't crammed with action features that hamper their posability, which is good. And but I will tell you, now that I've got Nunchuk and Shebang, I really need Really need me some Dojo for sure. Dojo is a must-have. We've got Storm Shadow. I love a Ninja Force Snake Eyes as well. And obviously, a correct version of Ninja Force Scarlet would be spectacular. I'm not holding my breath for that one just because the Collectors Club doesn't typically do really core characters like that. But if they did, that would be really, really cool. But it'd be nice if we could at least get a Dojo. But time will tell. We'll see what happens. But until then, I've got my Nunchuk, I've got my Chibang, I've got Storm Shadow, and I've got, I guess you could say I have Yinsu, and life is good. So there's Nunchuk. If you like what you saw, please subscribe. Please like the video, or if you don't like what you saw, throw me some comments and let me know what was wrong. I'm happy to fix whatever I can fix. I'm pretty new to this stuff, and hopefully more to come. This is Justin from GeneralsJoes.com. Thank you very much for watching.